You know what else is kind of weird?
What?
Being kosher.
What is kosher?
I think kosher is like a set of dietary laws. I think that the Jewish dietary laws may be the first food laws on record. That is something that is debated. And if we're the first food laws on record, we're number one. This should be like the number one rule.
I think it is, for sure. And I think that if you would ask a lot of observant Jews, they would say keeping kosher is like one of the top rules of being observant. It's like if you're going to choose to observe these many rules, where else could it possibly show up in a more tangible way than in what you eat every day, every moment?
Yeah.
It is a certain level of like mindfulness involved that is, commendable because you're giving up a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I do not keep kosher anymore like I used to. I'm aware of it every time I eat something that is not kosher. I can feel it in my kishkas.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, to not partake in the joys of the world around us, I guess that's the point. I guess Jews are not supposed to enjoy the world around us. I don't know, man. It's kind of a bummer. But I guess you're supposed to enjoy the adherence to the rules, or it's not even about enjoyment. There's no joy involved.
It's about the practice.
So that's my, on the other hand, it's like, it's a big set of rules, but like, is it worth it?
On the other hand, the kosher should be marketed as a diet fad.
Oh, interesting. I lost 65 pounds keeping kosher.
Exactly.
You're right. Maybe it just needs a rebranding.
And maybe the problem with that is that when you keep kosher, it's not that healthy, which, I don't know. I'm not a nutritionist, but,
On the other hand, Josh, kosher as a set of rules is one thing. Kosher as a term in our language is a whole other thing about kosherness. I've heard people say, like, I'm not sure if that plan is totally kosher. And by that, they like mean, is it safe? Is it tested? Is it like, does it meet the standards?
Right.
So the slang word definition that we use for kosher is a strict set of standards, which is not a bad thing to have attached to your brand.
Yeah, it's a good brand. On the other hand, is that anti-Semitic? What you're saying is that there's a set of assumptions about Jewish people, and is that a good thing?
I mean, this is where it's like, I can understand the wanting to see it as anti-Semitism, but it's just sort of like ignorant philo-Semitism. It's like these stereotypes, but they're all perceived as good attributes to have. Tight with their family, like good at working with money, like all of these studious and hardworking in school, like all of these stereotypes. They're also like, are those things individually bad for a brand? Why is that fair that gets to be considered a bad thing when those are otherwise considered good things? That's the anti-Semitism of it, is that like we don't get to even enjoy the good stuff.
That's the sacrifice. On the other hand, Roy, there are too many symbols to designate what's kosher. Okay, I've seen like a K. I've seen a K with a circle. I've seen a U. Okay. Yep. All right.
And the O. Don't forget the O.
And the O.
And the OU.
And then there's like a whole separate passive or subdivision. It's crazy. We have so much space. Why are we like wasting it on all these different K's and P's and U's and stuff? Let's put a QR code on there, and then we can tell them whatever we want. Come on, let's engage with our customers. We have a great brand. Roy was just saying it. Let's do a marketing thing.
It takes you to like a why kosher is totally rad.com. And it's just like a guy from Chabad talking about the rules of kashrut.
Uh-huh.
I bet they already have somebody working on it. They're listening to this right now, and they're already assigning it to someone.
If they don't, we should become Big Kosher.
On the other hand, Josh, kosher is not just like a food thing. Kosher is now also a cannabis thing. Kosher shows up in cannabis in several ways, from the literal, like foods that are certified as kosher cannabis products, like edibles, to the strain names like Kosher Kush.
It's a sort of a symbol of something.
Well, that is the kind of insight that cuts through things, slicing insight. Whooshing, shoo.
I'm just dissecting it to its finest level. That's all that's happening there. I'm cutting through all the fat.
You're cutting through all the meat too. You're just cutting through everything. Fuck it all.
On the other hand, Roy, thinking about kosher foods, there's meats, parve, and dairy. And when I think of this, I'm thinking about the fact that like kosher meats need to have split hooves to be considered kosher. Why haven't we innovated? If we know the standard, are you familiar with this CRISPR gene editing technology?
Oh man, you're gonna give a pig split hooves. That's what you're gonna do.
All I'm saying is let's put a hoof on a piece of shrimp. Let's do it and just solve our problems.
Oh man, like little hooved shrimp.
Yeah. You just cut off the end anyway. It doesn't matter. You wouldn't see it, but it would be kosher shrimp.
That definitely sounds trafe. And that's my last on the other hand. If you want to use kosher, embrace using trafe. Trafe means not kosher, and trafe is a great slang. I'm really just trying to get it to go out there. I'm still working on it. It's not catching, but we're working on it every day.
We should buy calls in trafe. That's a great idea. We should invest in that. That's the next kosher.
That's the next kosher. It's like a product that's like not only is it not kosher, but it's like really like trafe. You know what I mean?
It's frowned upon.
Yeah.
How could you market that feeling?
I would have like a brand of kosher, high-end chocolate desserts. And they were kosher, but I would call them trafe because they're so good they should be forbidden.
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
I do, Roy. That's a great idea.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my submission to this week's Gefilte Tank. Boom! Looking for investors for 10%. 10% of the market, $1 million. $1 million for 10% of my business. Trafe. High-end kosher.
Oh, well, I think we can agree to disagree on keeping kosher.
Agreed.
Check out the Wandering Jews podcast wherever fine podcasts are found, or visit us online at wanderingJewspodcast.com or on Twitter at JewsWandering.
I lost 65 pounds keeping kosher.